New subscribers. I had a massive influx of new subscribers recently. I want to say hi, welcome, my name's Ed. How are you? Hope you've had a good week. Today's video is quite a good one. I hope that you really enjoy it, even if you are new. Remember I told you the other day that I messed up that nutrition talk? Well, this is the video that you wanted to watch to get up to date with that. So I know I'm going to get some flack in the comments, so please check yourself before you write anything in the comment section, because this isn't a video like telling you how to eat, how to lose weight, how to optimize your performance. It's not about that. What it's about, and what I was getting to it in the talk on the evening, is what I did, right? It could be right, it could be wrong, whatever, I don't care. The point is, it worked, I lost weight, and I went better for it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So 2018 is all about new things, new goals. If this video is for you, like it, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, talk about it on your local club run, because there's many people that might want to hear this, and also it can give them some kind of insight and some kind of motivation to push themselves to either lose weight or to optimize their performance or do anything. Even if it gives them ideas, it's for the best. So share it out. So let's jump straight into it. Here's the first slide. As I said, I'm going to put it into the bottom corner to make it a lot easier, or I'll put it full screen, whatever. But the first slide, pretty much how I lost 5.5 kilos in 4 weeks. So let's start this. Yeah. By the way, did you notice anything about those two pictures at the beginning? Like, there's me when I first started with the team, and then there's me like last year, the year before, some hill climbs. Like, I'm pretty much in the same position, as in my legs are in the same position there on the pedal stroke. Obviously I'm in the drops, I'm on the top, on the hoods in that one, but like, you know, there's a massive difference there, and it's crazy. Obviously I weighed more than 63 kilos then, but all right. So when I did the talk with Binya, I jumped straight into it. So the nitty-gritty first off, if you're going to lose weight, you need to start off with a base. Now, your baseline is how many calories you need in a day, full stop, to live. That's without exercise, that's without anything. This is known as your RMR, your resting metabolic rate, or your BMR. So to calculate those, I use an online calculator called, well, not called, at bodybuilding.com. You can find them anywhere. Use a few of them. And enter in your height, your age, all that kind of thing. Sorry, my phone's going berserk there. Put it on silent. To compare, you know, because they're all going to give slightly different calorie readings. Mine is around 17 to 1800 calories a day. Yes, I know that's way below the 2,500 calorie limit that the NHS set. That's the National Health Board in England and Wales. But that is your starting point, okay? So after that, you have to up those calories by estimating your activity level, or you have an accurate figure from when you actually go out riding. So, you know, that's from your Garmin, that's from your heart rate monitor, your power meter is obviously a lot more accurate. So when I'm addressing you now, I'm probably going to be addressing you in power terms. A lot of you have power meters nowadays. They're so easy to buy. So that's what I'm gonna throw my phone over there. So what are you willing to lose, and how far are you willing to go to achieve this weight loss? And lower your expectations. As I've said, in fact, don't even have a goal to lose weight. That wasn't my goal. My goal was to see how healthy I could eat, because I wasn't actually. The problem is with August, if you're not selected for the Tour of Britain, which I wasn't in this case, you kind of slip into this kind of negative eating, and I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to eat really well. I wanted to test out new things, you know, obviously high fat diets and all this malarkey was kind of picking up momentum then. So I wanted to kind of, you know, find out about all this. So I did an experiment, a 10 to 28 day experiment with a macronutrient breakdown of 33, 33, 33. So that's carbs, fat, protein. It was kind of around there, and averaged out at 33 each a day. That's 33%, obviously 33% of my pie chart. Worth noting that a lot of kind of men's physique competitors, not so much bodybuilders, I'm not quite sure on that, but men's physique competitors, those who use the diet protocol, if it fits your macros, you know, they go off this kind of ratio. Now, it's important to remember, I'm going to stress this, that I am not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor, I don't play one on the internet, and I don't have any degree or any kind of education in nutrition whatsoever. It's all my own experimenting. So, you know, that's why I said check yourself before you write anything in the comments. I know that I'm not giving you massively, you know, scientifically backed advice, because it's just what I've done. Okay, so anyway, moving on. I hope I don't have to mention that again. The case study, going back to myself, 63 kilos to 57.5 kilos, massive difference, 7.5% to 3.5% body fat. Again, take that with a pinch of salt, because it's from my own bathroom weighing scale. It's, you know, it's not as accurate as you know, more scientific ways. Lean muscle mass went up. BMI obviously dropped. 28 watts per kilo went up by 0.6 of a watt per kilo. And like I said, a word on scales. Like if you think you've got a fair few kilos to lose, measure yourself. Don't use a weighing scale, because going by a weight number, so you know, 130 pounds, 170 pounds, it's always going to fluctuate, and you know, depending on if you're hydrated and all this kind of stuff, it always affects that. So don't be a slave to the number on the scale. That's important to remember. Use a tape measure. You know, measure your belly, measure your arms, measure your neck, because that's one place that we tend to put on a bit of fat. If you really want to, measure your backside. So like put a tape measure around kind of the middle of your bum, coming all the way around to your front. And what you notice is, well, obviously your bum will get smaller. That's male and female. I'm keeping it real, so you know, I'm just telling you everything. So next slide, I just put this in as a bit of a kind of I don't know, for my own kind of thing, because I want to look back at this in 40 years time, you know, and kind of see what I did. So it's a bit of a reminder to myself, as well as what I'm capable of, as well as what you are capable of. So the next section was all about the watts per kilo chart that I think is it Andrew Coogan, Hunter Allen, I'm not quite sure. Please let me know in the comments, because I'm a bit I get mixed up with those two. So they devised a chart as to where you'd be roughly with your power numbers. So as you can see, I made a bit of a leap. I'd say that's 5 places for each of those. So if we call it like 1 place for 1 kilo, it kind of makes a bit of sense. But what I did was I actually lost 9% of my total body weight by losing 5.5 kilos, which is massive. You can imagine a 9% gain on your FTP. Imagine a 9% gain in if you went on a fun cycling holiday with your mates to Tenerife, and you went up Mount Teedy, which is like a 3-hour climb on Mount Teedy. You know, if you went up on that, you could take like a massive chunk of time at the same pace, you know, because you're going to be a lot more efficient. So you go back the next year and you're obviously 9% lighter. That's going to be a heck of a difference. But I did a calculation, because the guys at the Binnia Cycling Club, there's a lot of triathletes here now. I wanted to kind of see what was possible for those guys doing the Ironman. One guy actually went out to Kona, and he did like almost 10 hours exactly, but he did like I think it was 5-hour exactly bike split, and he ended up he took like, if he was 9% lighter, he would have taken off 24 minutes off his bike split, and that's not as well counting how efficient his increased efficiency on his run, on his swim and his run. You know, so the gains there are massive. So let's break it down. This is my pie chart before, and this is also kind of what you'd find if you tracked, if you eat what you'd class as normal. This is kind of like what your pie chart would look like. carbs, big portion, fat, relatively big portion, and then protein very low. And the reason being that, we just don't kind of think about protein really. Sometimes we do. We buy the high protein things off the shelf, but they're not necessarily high protein. They're just labeled high protein. So they're actually higher in fat, or they're actually higher in carbs. So the actual macronutrient breakdown of the meal is not high protein. So afterwards, I made a big conscious effort to change it. And like I said, the 35, 35, 30 or the 33 split, whatever, I tried to balance out there. And I made 3 key points. So fat is essential. Google that, and all the scientific evidence will tell you why fat is so good for you. Healthy fat. Protein is essential for muscle mass, for maintaining lean muscle, and also for feeling satisfied after meals. Same goes for fat. But then carbs are not as essential. I mean, there's no amino acids in carbs like in protein. There's no essential, free fatty acids like in fat. There doesn't seem to be nothing much essential in carbohydrate. So manipulating the carbs, this is the single biggest game changer I found in actually dropping that weight. So it's important to realise that I didn't drop the weight unnaturally. So the people around me will know that, yes, I was feeling hungry and I was getting a bit angry sometimes because I wasn't eating enough. That's generally because I was eating on such a schedule that I knew, and that's the thing that was making it frustrating, was because I would go like 2.5 hours between meals, and I'd get to like hour 2 and I'd be like, I'm only half an hour away, and I'm like, I gotta eat. So it's that kind of hangry, so you're always thinking about the same meal. Look, I know that's not healthy in itself, but I was focusing more on performance and weight than I was on anything else at this time. It was literally, that's all I lived, breathed, and quite literally ate this stuff. So on my training days, a simple trick was to keep my carbs at around 30 to 35% of my daily calorie intake, and then on my rest days it would be 30% or less, keeping protein kind of maybe possibly a little bit higher, and fat would come up a little bit as a result of that. However, important to note that because there's 9 grams, I think it's 9 calories per 1 gram of fat, compared with the 4 calories per 1 gram of carbs and protein, I'd have to kind of watch my fat intake on a rest day, because you can eat so little fat but get so much calories that my 1,700 to 2,000 calories that I'd consume on a rest day, because I'm not riding, would take no time at all to achieve if I was eating fats, healthy fats. So that's why I use protein to fill in that space, if you get me. Timing my intake was probably more important than anything. I'd say to some guys, if there was one thing I'd do, instead of changing my diet, just change when you eat things. So a simple example would be, if you're doing a 7 o'clock PM turbo session, you jump on the turbo 7 PM, you might have a high protein, moderate fat breakfast, and then through the day you snack on protein, fat, and then later on in the evening is when you have your bulk of carbs, because that's when you're being your most active, that's when you really need them, especially with the turbo session being quite intense. I know what you're going to say, but it's almost like a no-brainer. Carbohydrate is there for high intensity, short, sharp efforts. So it wasn't, I got quite slated at the time, but it wasn't a low carb diet. What it was an activity carb heavy diet. So although I'd be eating 35% carbs on my training day, those 35% carbs would probably come within the first, say, from 7 till 12 in the morning. And then the rest of the day I wouldn't be eating carbs at all. Do you get me? So it's all centered around when I need it the most, and then the rest of the day it's really minimal. This is what I kind of coined the term as like a carbohydrate fast. So protein is healthy fat. This slide is just about giving you examples about what I ate. So like I say, even if you up your intake, you should see benefits because you'll maintain muscle and you'll also feel a bit more satisfied. Protein, I was telling people in Binya that actually if you go to the shop, there's actually very little protein sources about. You know, the meat section, there's obviously lean meats is what you try to get for, aim for. Possibly your zero fat yogurt, stuff like that, but there's never actually anything that's, you know, 100% protein, and the macronutrient breakdown is 100% protein, although, you know, a lot of 5% fat meats, such as, you know, turkey mince and stuff like that, they'll still only be 95% protein. So you can't really get anything that's 100% protein unless you get whey or stuff like that. So it's important to shop, I think, in macronutrients. Keep it simple. So if you're buying your carbs, buy rice cakes, buy, you know, a little bit of fruit, dried fruit. Buy some brown rice or something, but oats. But then if you're shopping for protein, like I say, go for meats, go for stuff like that. If you're shopping for fats, you know, you've got to be really careful. So look for nuts, look for avocados, seeds, you know, things like that. So they have a very simple macronutrient breakdown. That way you can almost make your own meal yourself. So healthy fats, so as you can see, there's a few examples of my protein there: white fish, high protein yogurt, egg whites, you know, protein bars on a rare occasion. Yeah, I think we were talking about yogurts. There's such a massive array of yogurts now in the supermarket. It's really hard to get kind of lost in it. So what I always aim to do is look at the label, and per 100 grams I'd look for something that has, like, you know, less than a gram of fat, maybe 5 to 8 grams of carbs, and anything over 10 grams of protein per 100 grams of a yogurt will be pretty decent. Again, I try to stay away from the flavoured stuff, as natural as possible, really. I try to keep... Now, I know a lot of you are probably shouting out saying, look, you need the Greek yogurt, you need the fat in that. But the reason why I was sticking to zero fat yogurt is because, very simply, it's the calorie content then just bumps up. So then you can only eat you can only eat so much of it then. So if you have a zero fat yogurt, you can eat almost double the amount. So it's all about being satisfied, and if you're only having, say, that much of a yogurt because it's full fat, and you can have like that much of a zero fat yogurt, then if you're, you know, trying to lose weight, then eating more actually makes you feel better, or at least it made me feel better. Carbs. I tried to limit carbs that weren't processed. Man, that's a no-brainer. Little bread, no biscuits, chocolate, or even cake. Rice cakes, dates, Mars bars, yogurt. The list is quite small of stuff that I'd actually eat. One thing I will say is I tended to eat my daily carbs from foods that were high in protein and fat. I call these secondary carbs, i.e. nuts have a small amount of carbs and so do avocados. Going back to the cake situation, because I know a lot of you will be shouting out again saying, I want my cake, you know, when can I eat my cake? You can have your cake and eat it. Would it be part of a healthy, balanced lifestyle? Possibly. But what I'd say is eat it when you're going to use it. Eat it on a, you know, before a chain gang, eat it after a chain gang, eat it during the chain gang, eat it sometime when you're going to do some high intensity exercise. Probably be best. A word on hydration. I generally didn't drink much more than I normally did when I was on this kind of eating regime, but man, was I peeing a lot. I was peeing a heck of a lot, and I did a little bit of research into it, and I found that a diet that's lower on carb means you actually excrete more pee, because carbs, apparently, I think I'm saying this right, carbs need water to be held in the body. So if I was dropping my carbohydrate intake, or rather at certain points of the day, my body had nothing to hold on to, so the water was just coming out. I was peeing a good colour, you know, don't get me wrong, but I just wasn't holding on to it. I think that's one of the first things I noticed, and it could possibly be the same for you, although I noticed it. It was more easy to notice because I was already, you know, in considerably good shape, you know, fairly lean. The problem with a lot of cyclists is when we are lean, bloating is obvious. And I think when you do start eating like this, the bloating will disappear and you lose quite a lot of weight quickly. But a lot of it will be water weight, you know, and it'll just disappear. And this bloating will go and you'll feel quite tight. And that's kind of the first signs of the onset of a lower carb intake then. So for shorter events, I put in a little bit of a infographic, I guess. This was my training at like 2 weeks before the hill climb season. I was doing some VO2 threshold efforts there, which are 8 minutes, with 8 minutes at like kind of 120% of my FTP, which was like 400 watts, and then I think it was like 6 minutes rest between, and I was doing that 5 times, just basically up and down a hill. By the time you come down it, you're going back up the thing, so very little rest. But I was literally like, eating my carbs before, during, and then very little after, and then none for the rest of the day. So if I'd get out the door at 9, you know, you can imagine the whole rest of the day is quite a long time, but I'm actually quite, you know, I'm hardly eating any carbohydrate at all. But as you can see, like, I still ate 206 grams of carbs. Yeah, I mean, that's something you can query. As a sample, that is actually my diet during that day, so you can pause the video right now and look at that if you want to. But as you can see, a lot of it is kind of, you know, I mean, 95% of it is on point. You know, it's what I plan to eat during the day, and then 5% of it is, you know, a fluff up. If I decide to eat something that's not on the menu, I'll eat it. It's no problem. I think I was gonna say. Yeah, this is my day off, so again the calories come right down. Actually, you know, because I use MyFitnessPal to track, this is not endorsed by MyFitnessPal, but they are brilliant. Well done, guys, for creating such a good app. What I do is I tend to fill out my day of eating the night before, so I know exactly what I'm eating. A lot of it will be copy and paste from the day before, or, you know, sometime during the last 12 days. So on my day off is when I actually tended to lose the most weight. A lot of it there is natural food. Again, this is the week of the event. The Minehead Cycling Club Hill Climb, which I won, is there on the Sunday. And I had kind of, what I wanted to highlight in this week was actually the race day and how I had 122 grams of carbs before. So the race started at 10:30 and I had 122 grams of carbs before then. And this is what I ate. Again, pause, read over if you want to. Yeah. Again, going back to the espresso and Mars bar thing, I'm going to explain in a different video. In fact, I'm going to get it for you now. So you're wrapping it up now because we're right near the end. I did the same kind of thing this year, the Tour of Portugal. This is for obviously longer events. The first 4 days of the top section are what you'd call the days leading up to the stage race, and then we had on the Friday was the prologue. Again, like, it's very minimal carbohydrate intake. It's very little. And the whole idea of the stage race was to not only like see how well I could go, obviously, but I wanted to test this nutrition strategy that I've been using, you know, for the last few months, and to see if it would work in this kind of scenario. I have a feeling it did, but it's really hard. Like, I didn't weigh myself during the stage race, so it's really hard to tell if I was, you know, gaining or losing weight. Chances are I gained a little bit because the amount of water you're drinking, obviously your carbohydrate intake increases anyway because of the racing. So that was really hard to do. but I still went really well. I even had like one of my best ever 10-mile time trial power records on the 11th day or the 12th day, however long the stage race was. On the last day, I actually managed to do one of my best ever 20-minute 10s. So it was it went pretty well, and you know, obviously it was quite hilly, so I went well on the climbs. Not exceptionally well, but you know, better than expected. So like, let's try and pick one of these days out. You know, I mean, this day down here we had like 4,500 calories. We had 701 grams of carbohydrate. This is Monday the 7th I'm looking at, with 100 grams of fat and 203 grams of protein. So it's a 62, 20, 18 breakdown, which kind of looks a bit like that pie chart of the average person, which, you know, it had to be done at some point. I mean, eating 701 grams of carbs is hard on the stomach, but that's just how the day played out. Like, we started the stage at 12, so to give you a rough idea of what we did, we would have breakfast at like 9 or 8, and then that would be quite carb heavy. Then, you know, leading up to the race, I'd have little carbohydrate nibbles, and then during the race, which is like 5 hours, I'd have carbohydrate then. So a big chunk of the day would be carbohydrate, but then as soon as the race finished, it'd be protein and a little bit of carbs, and then fat, protein, fat, snacks, up until time to go to bed. Time to go to bed, you know, a bit of protein, away you go, sleep, wake up next morning, bit of protein to wake up, and then carbs. So it's kind of like as and when you need it, you know what I mean? So, you know, that's it really, guys. And we had a little bit of a Q&A at the end to finish it up. Share this with anybody who you think needs to watch it. Share with your family, friends, for a bit of interest into what I do with this. And I hope you really enjoy it. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Like I said, go easy in the comments. It is something that's worked for me. So yeah, let's keep it as that. And yeah, let's get ready for a training camp. See ya.